Okay, today I'm going to show you the overlocked open seam and the overlocked closed seam. And overlock is really just another word for serger. And so these are just two different types of finishes. They're used for different things. The overlocked open seam, you'll see it a lot on a variety of different garments. It's used to finish your seams, keep the raw edges from fraying. And this open seam is used a lot on, you'll see it on the side seams of shirts, the inseam of pants, just the shoulder seam, the underarm seam, lots of different seams. The overlock closed seam, so the seams are pressed together and then overlocked. And you see that a lot. Like I always do it on my sleeve, the circle of the sleeve, because it's when you do put that set in sleeve in, and you clip your seam allowance, you've got those frayed edges. It's a nice way to just make go over those seams and just make it all look really nice. Okay, so for this you're going to need 4 pieces of fabric, 9 by 4 inches, and you're going to make 2 different samples. So you're just going to sew them right sides together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll meet you over at the serger. Okay, so I've got my 2 seams, 1/2 inch seam allowance. And always don't forget, whenever you do a seam, you always want to press it. Press the seams closed first. That'll set your stitches and really get the fibers of that seam to mix with the fibers of the fabric. And then you'll open it up and press those seams out. So we'll start with the overlock open seam. And we're just going to cover each seam allowance one side at a time. So you're just sewing the edge of the seam allowance here. You're just going over the edge because you don't want these edges to fray at all. Let's say this were a garment or a jacket or something. When you throw it in the washing machine, if you don't have some sort of seam finish on here, all this thread is just going to fray and it's really going to make a mess. So you definitely want to cover your edges. Now, if you've never used a serger before, let me just show you how it works. Okay, so we've got a blade on the edge right here that goes up and down, and as it comes down and you take a stitch, it cuts off the edge of your fabric. Now we don't want to cut off the edge of the fabric, we just want to cover the seam allowance. So to do that, I just want to line up the raw edge of my fabric with the edge of that knife. And as you can see, it comes down right along the side of this foot right here. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit, see if you can see that. It just comes down right to the side of this presser foot. So I want to make sure my fabric is lined up with the edge of that presser foot. And then I'm ready to get started. And you really don't even have to lift up the presser foot at all for a serger. You can just start sewing, and these feed dogs down here, they're little grippers, and they grab your fabric and they're going to pull it through. And the great thing about a serger is you can actually you can serge without any fabric in the machine, right? It just makes this long chain stitch, and it'll just keep sewing. As long as I keep the machine going, it'll just keep creating that chain stitch. Okay, so here we go. I'm lining up the edge of my fabric with the edge, get a little bit closer, of that knife. Oops. And just keep sewing off the end of the fabric. You can keep going, it'll just create this little chain stitch. And then I'm going to flip over my fabric and do the same thing on the other side, going over this side. Alright, there I have my overlocked open seam. Now I can just trim my the excess thread and I am good to go. I always give, if you give a little tug on one of the threads, it's just going to tie all that in a knot so that I can go ahead and cut this off and I won't, it won't start to unthread. Okay, so just pull one of the threads. Oops, and just get it to tighten up. All right, so on the closed seam, I'm actually going to take my seam allowance and press it together. And then I'm going over both these edges together. So I'm going to close that seam, okay? Hence the name, overlock closed seam. That seam. Okay. Alright, so then when I open it up, I'm just going to want to press it to one side, okay? And I'll hit this with the steam in just a second. But I just want to tighten up my threads. I'll trim all the excess seams, and that's it.